we welcome then Sarah Adebanjo today, who's going to talk about supporting every child to achieve. And she's also going to come along to the Telegram group on Friday, next Friday, to continue the discussion. So if we don't get time to cover everything today, we'll carry on doing that in the discussion. So I won't say anything else, but pass over to Sarah, who's going to give us an exciting presentation for today. So over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. Like Gary introduced me, my name is Sarah Adebanjo. I'm a teacher, I'm a counselor, and I'm a school coordinator. I have taught English for a while, and I have worked with children, I've worked with parents, and I've worked with teachers. My passion is to see teachers grow. My passion is to see teachers being the best that they can be for the sake of the child, because I advocate all the time for a child-centered education. Thank you. So today we will be learning together, and it's because the topic is inclusion. It has to do with inclusion. Everybody will be carried along in this class. I'd like you to be very attentive. I'd like you to participate because there's going to be activities so that we all can be carried along. Okay, so today we'll be looking at this very crucial topic, crucial and very, very interesting, supporting every child to achieve, supporting every child to achieve. Okay, so introduction, why are we having this webinar? Why are we looking at this topic? What is the rationale behind this topic? The webinar is aimed at exploring different ways in which every single child, despite their unique peculiarities, like you would agree with me, if you teach 5 children, you are teaching 5 different worlds. You are exploring 5 different world views, 5 different mindsets. Every child is peculiar. Every child is unique for various reasons that we would explore in the course of this webinar. Okay, so despite their unique peculiarities and challenges, they can be supported to enjoy a rich experience. Now, underline that in your mind, a rich experience, not just an experience. It's okay to just plan a lesson, to plan and prepare a lesson like, oh, we've been doing this. This is the way we've been doing it. The same notes, the same apparatus, the same instructional materials, the same methods year in, year out. But are the children having a rich experience? Is every child connected to the lesson? Can every child take something away from the lesson? Like I normally say to people, when I was in primary school, I can remember a few things. And what are the few things I can remember? When we went on excursion, when we had to play with materials, when we had to dance, when we had to do role play. But right now, I cannot remember the definitions, the explanations, the terms, the terminologies. I can't remember all of that. But I can remember the experiences that I had as a child, both in the elementary and in the high school. So that is talking about a rich experience for every child within the school system and to achieve curriculum aims and objectives. Okay, so let's move on. I believe from that introduction, somebody is already having a fantastic time and you already know the direction in which this webinar is going. Okay, so what are the objectives? We want to understand the concept of inclusion and its importance within the school system. 2, we are going to be analyzing the peculiarities of the Gen Z. So do we have any Gen Z teacher here? I'm not sure. Maybe we have more of millennials, but we want to look at the peculiarities of the Gen Z, and we want to be able to come up with various strategies to support the learning of the 21st century child. Don't forget, I might be using the words interchangeably, the 21st century child and the Gen Z. So in the course of this webinar, we are going to be using the following keywords Inclusion. We would find out the meaning of inclusion, its importance, and how we can systematically make good use of it. We can leverage on the concept of inclusion to make sure that every child is supported. Then we also have the SEN, special education needs. We'll be talking about that. And then we'll be looking at peculiarities. Another word for peculiarities is differences, uniqueness. What makes a particular child different from another? And then we'll be coming to differentiation. It's a concept in teaching and learning. And we want to see how we can use differentiation to achieve an inclusive education, a rich and inclusive education. And then we will be looking at the Gen Zs. I just spoke about them right now, just before this slide. We'll be looking at them, who they are, what are their peculiarities, and how we can effectively support them. All right. Quickly, let's look at inclusion. Inclusion is a learning system where there's a deliberate plan to support every child until learning takes place. Now, let's look at the meaning of the word support. What does it mean to support? To assist, to aid, to help. Now, you do not support someone that can do something or can achieve something. The reason why we support people or we give support is because there is a particular goal, an objective in mind. And because of certain challenges or certain reason, such an individual cannot reach that goal. And so such a person needs support. So when we are talking about inclusion, we cannot divorce it. Permit me to use that word. We cannot remove support from the concept of inclusion. It is a process that helps to overcome barriers, limiting the presence and participation and achievement of learners. Like I said earlier, we have about 57 participants in this class right now. Many of us would not learn now. Let's assume that we all are children. We all are learners. We all might not learn at the same pace. That's number one. And for various reasons. Those reasons could be whatever. It could be biological. It could be psychological. It could even be as a result of where we find ourselves. It could be environmental. So how can I, as the teacher, support every single learner in this class to make sure that you have a rich experience, to make sure that at least, if not all of the objectives, a very good number or to a significant extent, you achieve the objective and the aim of this webinar. That is what inclusion is all about. That is engaging everybody, carrying every child along, regardless of who they are, regardless of what their challenges may be. Let's move on. So why do we need to practice inclusion? What is the rationale behind inclusion? The curriculum has been planned or has been designed to equip the learner with skills to become a well-rounded individual who can thrive or at least function optimally in the society. Now, why? Let's look at it from this angle. Why do people go to school? Why do we go to school? We go to school for various reasons, so that we can be literate, so that we won't be a burden to others, so that we can function in the society. We don't go to school for cognitive purposes only. For example, I once worked with a parent, and the child happened to be an autistic child. The child, I'll soon get to autism by the time I'm speaking about various learning disabilities. And the mother said to me, she said, I haven't brought this child to school to score straight A's or to pass science or pass English or pass mathematics. I just want this child to be able to be well incorporated into the society. I want this child to be able to relate well with others, to be able to at least speak, understand, transact business, share ideas in the society. That is the reason why I have brought this child to school. So the purpose for education is functionality. The curriculum has been designed with objective that at the end of every step, at the end of every learning experience, I don't know what the system is like in your community. For example, where I work and live, I live in Lagos, I work in Nigeria. We have the 6-3-3-4 system of education. And it is expected that after the elementary school, after 6 years in the elementary school, the child would be able to read, write, and communicate. And then it is expected that after a certain amount of years, probably 3 years in the junior secondary school, that is what other communities call the middle school, the child will have a focus, for example, like a vocation, like a direction. This is where I want to go. I want to tilt towards the sciences. I want to tilt towards the arts. It might not be like that in your community, but I'm just using my community as an example. And at the end of that, the child goes to the senior high school, the senior secondary, and then to the tertiary institution. So after all of these experiences, there is a particular objective, there is a general objective that the curriculum has been designed to achieve in the child. So that is what the curriculum has been designed to do. But will every child achieve these aims and objectives in the same way? No. In fact, will every child achieve those objectives? Many children have suffered in the past, and I can use myself as an example. For example, when I was growing up as a child in the elementary school, numbers. In fact, at some point, later when I started practicing as a teacher, I began to think, did I have dyscalculia? Could it have been that I had phobia for numbers because mathematics was a headache to me? If not that everybody knew that. Can we mute our microphones, please? Thank you. If not that everybody knew as a general rule of thumb that 1 + 1 is 2, I don't understand how it came to be. I just had this issue with numbers, and I grew up like that. I didn't know how I managed to scale through secondary school. And when I got to the university, I ran away from numbers. I went to study English education. I went to learn how to teach other people to speak and write English and literature. And so I wanted to do my master's. I said, okay, I will continue with an MEd, an MEd. And so I put in, I filled the form, I wrote the exams, I got in. And when we got in, I was told that we were going to have borrowed courses from the Faculty of Science, and it was going to be statistics. I freaked out. I practically freaked out. Why? Because when I got to the statistics class, all the numbers scared me. I was no longer a child, I was an adult. But probably there was a gap that should have been bridged. Probably there was no provision for inclusive education at that time. And I was not carried along when it came to numeracy. When it came to mathematics, I was practically left behind. Ask me what I did in my MEd class. I pulled out. I withdrew. I didn't continue with the MEd. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with numbers all my life because it was freaking me out. And I went back, I obtained another form, and I went to do literature, master's in arts literature, so that I won't have anything to do with numbers. Now, see how a whole system failed. But thank God I'm back on my feet now. I was able to teach a little bit of, Key Stage 1 numeracy at some point as a class teacher. By the time I had to unlearn and relearn so many things. So that is just a practical example of why inclusion is needed. A lot of adults have suffered as children because the education was not inclusive. People were not carried along. A lot of people's learning differences or differences in learning were not considered. And so for this reason, a lot of people were incapacitated at some point to do certain things. So you can now see the importance of an inclusive education. Let's go on. I hope somebody's learning something already. Great. Okay, activity 1. Think and share in the chat box. What do you think about this quote? Every child is a different kind of flower, and all together make this world a beautiful garden. What do you think what does this quote mean to you? Quickly, one sentence, two sentences, half a paragraph, a whole paragraph, share in the chat. I want to read your opinion. What do you think this quote means? We have just 2 minutes for this activity. What do you think this means? Quickly, I'll give you some time to think about it. I want to read your comments in the chat very quickly. Thank you. Yes, the quote means, yes, this from Theresa Mokosa. She says the quote means children blossom differently and they have different needs. Thank you. Tesfaye Negash, every child has his own way of thinking. Thank you. Absolutely correct. Eukarya Agalu. Okay, oh, I didn't get that. Wow. So many comments flying. Thank you. Agree, they grow in society. Every child is unique. Wow, amazing. Each one of them are unique. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful comments. Thank you, all some of you. Well done. So, like all of you have said, for those of you that participated in these activities, yes, Annette. Oh, okay, let me read what Annette is trying to say. Okay, Margaret Chilu says it means that every child is unique in their own way. Every child is elder, future. Okay, every child is an future elder or upcoming parents. Thank you. All right, let's go on. Well done. You have all said brilliant things. You've all shared brilliant ideas. Okay, next slide. All right. 5 nuggets for inclusive learning. I want to become an inclusive teacher. I want to be able to carry every child along. I want to make sure that every child in my class or under the sphere of my influence has a rich experience in learning. I want to make sure that every child achieves curriculum objectives in my class. What are the things I need to do? Number 1, know yourself as the teacher. Teacher, know yourself. What is your expertise as a teacher? How well have you developed yourself? How well do you understand inclusion? Now, I said earlier on that at some point, numbers freaked me out. But at some point in my career, I needed to work with 6, 7-year-olds as an early elementary school teacher. That's key stage 1. And I needed to teach, early mathematics, numeracy. I had to unlearn everything I knew. I had to rewire or reconfigure my system to let me know that numbers do not bite people. Numbers are very interesting. And I went for training in it. And thank God I was able to take that class. And all the children enjoyed the class. All the children I took for about 4 or 5 years that I worked as an early elementary teacher. So as a teacher, you need to know where you are, know your limitations, and know where you need to improve on yourself. Have an understanding of the subject matter as a teacher, and then know the child, the learner. Education, most especially inclusive education, is learner-centered. Learning must direct teaching and not the other way around. It is learning that must direct teaching. So whatever we are doing, whatever we are planning, it has to be around the children. We must know the children in our class. We must know the children that are lower achievers for some reasons, and for the reasons that they are. We must know the middle achievers, and we must know who the high flyers are. We must understand how every child learns. We must understand how to manage these children. I'm sure very soon we'll be having, probably we'll have an opportunity for classroom management sometime in the future. We must learn how to manage these children. And if we don't know them, we will not be able to connect with them. Pedagogy is no longer transmitting knowledge. Pedagogy is now about being able to influence a child. And you cannot influence a child that you don't know. You cannot influence a child that you cannot connect with. The children should be able to connect with us. We should be able to connect with them. They should be able to connect with us. There must be a connecting point before we can influence them. There are sometimes children are put off from doing certain subjects, not because the subject is difficult, but probably because of the approach of the teacher. Many of us teachers need to learn how to relate with these children, because most of the time they see us in the subjects. Most times the children do not see science. They do not see numeracy, but they see Mr. Mark. They see Miss Sarah. Anytime they think about numeracy or literacy, they think about who the teacher is. So we must know the children so that we can connect with them effectively. We can relate with them effectively, and so that they can be happy to attend our classes, so that they can be motivated. And then know the curriculum, know the objectives. What do you want the children to achieve? What do you want them to be able to do? What do you want them to know? What do you want them to understand according to the Bloom's taxonomy? What do you want them to be able to do? Every class, every lesson must give birth to a change, an improvement in every child. It might not be at once. It might not all be at the same pace, but eventually every child must make progress in every class. Then know what you want the children to achieve. That is tied to number 3. And then number 5, know the environment. What obtains in your community? What is the culture like? If I go to India and I begin to teach English or literacy in India, I must understand that there are some cultural, there are some cultural peculiarities that would affect the way the children think, would affect the way the parents relate, would affect the school system. So whatever community we are, we must understand what the cultural perspectives are. Okay, and also, regardless of the community we are, by the time we are working with our children, we must also aim at making them global citizens, such that wherever they go, they are able to function, they are able to relate well, they are able to thrive. All right, so let's move on. Okay, let's discuss these factors. I have been talking about special education needs. Excuse me. I have been talking about uniqueness, various challenges that could plague various children and that could form like a challenge or an obstruction to their learning. For example, children, why inclusion? Let's discuss the following factors. Okay. Children from other communities in your country, we just spoke about that now. Children could come from other communities. For example, I have worked in international schools in Lagos, Nigeria, for quite a number of years. And I have been privileged to work with children from various continents of the world. Apart from where I live in Africa. I have children from Europe. I've worked with children from Europe, children from America, children from Asia. I've been privileged to work with various children. And so sometimes, if we are not deliberate in carrying these children along, sometimes we might discover that our cultural biases or the way we are wired might put them off from achieving objectives in our class. They might feel isolated. They might feel isolated. They might feel that, oh, my skin color is different from that of the other one. But as teachers, it is our job to make sure that no child is left behind, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of the accent in their voice when they speak. As teachers, we need to become round characters such that we can work with different kinds of children. There was a time I had a child, I think, yeah, the child was from America. I was teaching in a school, and the child, speaks so fast. He stutters. And then apart from the fact that he stutters, because of probably his accent as an American. He speaks so fast. And initially, it gave me a hard time. I had to, for example, when he wants to communicate with me, I had to be patient, allow him to stutter, and then smile so that he doesn't feel like he's a burden or something. And then smile at him. I say, don't worry, I can hear you, I'm listening to you. And then the child feels frustrated because he's stuttering. And then I say, no, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you. And then I give the child time to express himself. Despite that, because of his American accent, it seems to be a bit fast for me. And then I try to I say, can you come again? Can you take that again? But after a while, because I applied my heart to unlearn and relearn, I applied my heart that, oh, this class is going to be inclusive. No child is going to be left behind. No child is going to be left unsupported. I was able to carry that child along, and several other, experiences or examples like that. So let's be very deliberate about, carrying along children from other communities that we are privileged to work with. And then we have learning disabilities. What are learning disabilities? Learning disabilities are learning challenges. They are challenges and obstructions that hinder a child or that can slow down the learning process. Not all children have learning disabilities. And children that have learning disabilities, they are grouped under children that have special education needs. Now, let's mix up the two. There are some children that they are low achievers. They are lower achievers. They don't score high grades. They don't learn as fast, or they don't absorb concepts and ideas as fast as others. That doesn't make them special education needs children. That might be because they probably have some ways in which they are able to process information better, which the teacher can explore various ways and various means so as to be able to communicate effectively with such children. Now we are looking at children with special education needs, SEN. For example, we have dyslexia. What is dyslexia? Dyslexia is the inability to be able to have coordination with letters and words. When children have a hard time blending sounds, when they are just unable to do it, they have challenges. Whenever they see letters, it's just all over the place. They can't connect with letters. They can't connect with words, and it affects reading. That's what we call dyslexia. It's a form of learning disability. And there are ways in which such children can be carried along. There are ways in which such children can be made to achieve curriculum objectives. That is why every teacher, as a teacher, you cannot be an all-rounder. You cannot be an all-rounder. Some teachers are very, very proficient when it comes to working with children that have special education needs. But as a class teacher, as a subject teacher, it is very, very important. It is imperative that we know something, that we know that we are able to have information about each of these needs, even if we don't have all of the information. And then we have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is a kind of disorder where a child cannot pay attention for a long time. The attention span of the child is very, very, very minimal, and the child cannot sit still. The child cannot sit still for a considerable length of time that other children can sit still to learn. So this kind of children, we need to still carry them along, and the way we are going to plan the lesson. So as a teacher, as a curriculum implementer, by the time we are planning our lesson, we must make sure that every kind of child, as unique, as beautiful, as awesome, as wonderful as they are, we have a plan to carry them along in every lesson. For example, the way we are going to teach when we have a child with ADHD, It's quite different from when we have other children that are not, that don't have this disorder. And then we have calculia. Well, I think I suffered that as a child, but I think I got over it. Where numbers are just, where the mind of the child cannot just connect with numbers. And then we have dysgraphia, where children have a hard time writing. I'm not talking about children that are learning to write and they are taking their time. No, children that have challenges writing. They don't just want to, it's as if it's an impossible task for them. There is a way we carry these children along. For example, children like that, they shouldn't be made to sit down and write so many things. Once they are able to understand the concepts, it's okay. We move on with them. And then we have some kind of children, gifted and talented children. Children, for example, let me give an example. I'm privileged to be working with a child now. That child never learned to play musical instruments from anywhere. That child is in our preschool, in my school. And the child just got to pick up a xylophone and was beginning to play a beautiful symphony. And the music teacher ran to me. I happen to be the school coordinator. Has this child been playing this instrument? I said, I'm not sure, I'll find out. And then I called the parent. The parent said, no. The teacher said, no. Everybody said no. And he was playing a beautiful symphony. So that's a gifted and talented child. What do you want to say? Can we mute our microphones, please? Thank you. What do you want to say about a child of 24 months, 2-year-old, okay, I think 2-year-old and 3 months, that is beginning to blend monosyllabic sounds to pronounce a word? That's a gifted and talented child. A child of 2+ that is sounding aeroplane, hydrodynamics. Yeah, it's true, it's real. That's a gifted and talented child. So if those children, if their lessons are not well planned, if we don't cater for them specially in our lessons, we will not carry them along. They will just be bored. They will just drop off along the way because of boredom. And then we also have various, apart from children with special education needs, we have children who are emotionally challenged for various reasons. As a teacher, empathy is also very, very important and essential if we want to practice inclusion and if we want every child to be carried along. These children come from various homes. Many of them have been through various traumatic experiences. Some come from a home where the parents are they've witnessed separation of their parents, they've witnessed divorce, a lot of emotional challenges. Many children have been abused, and then they come with, sometimes we feel that these children don't have challenges. They do. They really do. They come to class with those challenges. Some of them are down. Some of them go through post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of emotional challenges. And so as a teacher, we need to be compassionate. We need to practice empathy. We need to create a community where every child feels safe. From the way we teach, from the examples we use, from the way we speak with the children. In fact, when we are upset, there are ways we need to, there are ways we need to go on and let the children know that what they are doing, they need to be corrected. Because there are some children, because of the emotional challenges they have faced, if you yell, you don't even yell at them. If you express, if you sound a certain way, they freak out. They become, they just freak out. They become intimidated. And so we need to be very sensitive to children who are emotionally challenged. We also have children, some children, they don't come to school often. They are ailing, they are sick. For example, some children can only come to school once or twice a week, probably because they need to, hospital visits, they're not feeling well. Those kind of children, there's a way we also need to include them. There's a way we need to carry them along. If it's about giving extra bits of work, being patient with them, encouraging them, just to make sure that every child is carried along, just to make sure that no child is left behind. just to make sure that the children have a rich experience, not just achieving curriculum objectives, but enjoying the school system, enjoying the whole process of coming to school. And then we have children with physical disabilities. And this starts from the way our school buildings are constructed. Is your school building constructed in such a way that children that are on wheelchair can move easily? If they want to move to the classrooms, they want to go to the restroom, they want to go to the dining area. How have your corridors been constructed? How have you created your seating arrangement? All children need to be carried along, regardless of their disabilities, could be mental or physical or emotional. And then we have children that are displaced from other countries, refugees, children from war-torn environments. How do you expect a child to be able to learn effectively or relate awesomely? A child that has witnessed somebody gunning down another person, a child that has seen war, that has seen dead bodies, a child that is traumatized. So we need to empathize with these children. We need to be able to understand their peculiarities, understand their challenges, and make sure that they are carried along. That's the concept of inclusion. Okay, so far, we've looked at the different kind of children, the different kinds of challenges that might pose as a threat to the children from enjoying the school system, from enjoying a rich experience in school, and from achieving curriculum aims and objectives. We want to look at something very, very vital and interesting. Somebody is raising a hand. I'm sure there's going to be time for questions after now. Okay, so let's just look at this. Thank you. Okay, peculiarities of the Gen Zs. Who are the Gen Zs? Before I say anything, if you have any idea about the Gen Z, quickly put it in the chat box. I want to be sure. I want to have an inclusive class. I want to be sure that everybody is being carried along. So I want to read what you have in your chat. Have you heard of the word Gen Z before? What do you think about them? What do you know about Gen Z? Quickly. Okay, so Gen Zs are born from 1999 upwards. Thank you. They are very entitled. Okay, children born from 2000 till now. All right, let's see more ideas. Let's see more latest generation of children. Somebody said the child of technology. Amazing. Gen Zs are .com children. Chimamobi Ekwendu, new generation, 21st century. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. Let's go on. The learners in our classrooms now are 21st century children, and they fall within the Gen Z. They are the demographic cohort born from 1996 upwards. Yeah, 1996. Well, there are various statistics. Some say 99, some say 2000. But from what I have here, 1996 upwards. They succeed the millennials. Many of us teachers right now, like me, I'm a millennial. People born between 1981 and 1996. And they precede the alpha generation. So I don't want to talk about the alpha generation now. So we are looking at the Gen Z. So let's examine some traits that are peculiar to these learners, to these people, because they are the ones in our classroom now. And you know, one of the nuggets of inclusion says, know the learner, know the child. Generation Z has emerged as a population increasingly worthy of attention. Yeah, I agree with you. Because I saw in the chat box, somebody said they are entitled. We'll come to that. They share a number of characteristics with millennials. Their formative years have been shaped by a drastically different world, resulting in key differences in attitudes. They don't think the way the millennials think. They don't talk the way the millennials talk. You know, in their attitudes, in their tendencies, and in their general outlook to life. Why is this so? We'll find out. According to statistics compiled by the Pew Research Center, America, the following peculiarities have been found out about these unique sets of learners. Now, their diversity, they love diversity. They're just diverse in the way they do things. Now, let's use America as a case study. Gen Z will be the last generation that is predominantly white. Yeah. The oldest Gen Zers turned 18 in 2015. The latest data for young adults ages 18 to 24 in 2020 shows that a slight majority are 53% white. So it's a global generation. It's a generation that the walls of race is fast falling down. They believe so much in diversity. They are just diverse in their mindset. They are diverse in their outlook. For example, look at what we're doing today. I have various people, participants in this webinar from various countries of the world. Americans are here, Africans are here. Some people have joined us from Europe. That is one of the characteristics of the Gen Z, you know, the Gen Zs. Diversity. A time will come whereby all these walls of I'm white, you're black is all crumbling down. And you know, I mentioned earlier that as teachers, you know, the world has become a global village. You would have various children in your class from various nationalities that have various skin colors, and we must learn to work together with them inclusively. Okay, diversity is their norm. They are more likely to have grown up amid diverse family structures. Okay, now let me give you this example. When I was growing up, or when I was in the elementary school, there's a topic in social studies that says the family. Now, traditionally, or the way we were taught, a family can be regarded as a combination or a household of father, mother, and children. But now that has changed. We cannot teach a family that way. In fact, I taught a group of year fives some years ago, and I almost got into trouble. We were looking at the Anglo-Saxon family. It was a history class, and I was supposed to compare it with family today. And in my traditional mindset, as at that time, I hadn't grown to be the inclusive teacher that I am now. I said a family is made up of father, mother, and children. The children did all their activities. We did role play. We did comparison between the Anglo-Saxon family and the contemporary family. It was a beautiful lesson. Everybody went home. The next day I was in school and I was summoned by the head of school. And so she asked me, what happened in class yesterday? I said, a lot of things. We had literacy, we had history, she said, no, what happened in this particular class? What did you say to this child? And I said, what child? And then she mentioned the name of the child. I said, I didn't say anything. I just taught my lesson. And said the mother of the child called that the child had been crying. That because the teacher said the family consists of father, mother, and children, that the child had been crying, that means there's something wrong with me. I don't have a family because I don't have a father living here. I was like, whoop. And then I began to learn that values and systems are beginning to change. I can no longer teach a family in that way. There are various kinds of families. There's a family of probably a father and children, or probably a mom, a man and a woman, or probably a grandparent and grandchildren. There are various kinds of families. So if I want to teach family today, what will I say? A family is a group of people supporting one another or something like that. So we need to be very, very careful because of these children that we are teaching. Diversity is their norm. They didn't grow up the way we grew up. They don't think the way we think. Okay, so they could have grown up in a single parent household, like the example I just cited, a multiracial household where, you know, we have interracial marriages, you know, or a household in which gender roles were blurred. I work in Africa. I live in Nigeria. And then there are some gender stereotypes that are fast fading. For example, the father is the sole provider in the family. The father is the breadwinner. And then what the mother does is to cook in the kitchen. Now, this is peculiar to Africa. But right now, these gender roles are fast fading out because of the economy, because of the diversity in the society, because of so many factors. And so we cannot teach them with a stereotyped mind. Okay. As a result of all of this, they are less fazed than previous generations by differences in race, in sexual orientation, or religion. If we must practice inclusion, we must be very careful with our own personal values. We must not make any child or any person feel uncomfortable because of their religion, because of where they come from, or for whatever their sexual orientation is. We must be very choosy and be very inclusive in our vocabulary. They are the first digital natives. They are digitally minded. They have prompt access to information. The whole world is practically at their fingertips. In our days when we were in elementary school, even when we were in tertiary school, if we needed to do projects, we needed to, do research, we had to visit a physical library where we had to go through the books. We had to do all of that to get information. But now, at the strike of Google, every information is in their fingertip. So they are not ignorant. They virtually have the whole world in their hands, whereas millennials were considered digital pioneers. Fine, millennials could have pioneered, computer, internet, and all of that. But this generation are the ones really, really using it. They bear witness to the explosion of technology and social media. Gen Z was born into a world of peak technological innovation and AI, artificial intelligence, where information was immediately accessible and social media increasingly ubiquitous. Okay, so now these technological advancements have both positive and negative effects on the Gen Zers. Now, this is the positive effect. We can learn, we can collaborate together as teachers from whatever country, for whatever country of the world. This is absolutely positive. We can teach, online, on Zoom, Google Meet, so many technological platforms, digital platforms where we can teach children. But there are also some negative, some disadvantages. On the plus side, an abundance of information, we talked about that, is at their fingertips. Let's just move on because of our time. Too much screen time, that's part of the adverse effect. Too much screen time can compound feelings of isolation and lead to underdeveloped social skills. In a situation whereby all a child interacts with is the computer, is the tab, the child has the tendency to be socially underdeveloped. The child has the tendency not to be able to interact effectively with people in the society. And then we also have cases of cyberbullying. People are being bullied, digitally. We have cases of people being radicalized right from the comfort of under the noses of their parents because of unguided exposure to the net. Okay. All right, somebody mentioned earlier, I said they are entitled. Now, let's go. They are financially minded. I live in Lagos, and then there's a song. There's a musician that, released the song and said, school is a scam. Why would I go to school? Why would I learn? Why would I do everything? And at the end of the day, all I want to make is money. It's all about the money. Money, money, money. That is one of their characteristics. And then when we are teaching them, when we are designing their lessons, when we are designing their curriculum, we must help them understand functionality. For example, the kind of examples we use. We can use money. You want to get the attention of a Gen Zer. You can use money as examples in your numeracy class. They can role play money roles. Financial mindedness is another core characteristic of Generation Z. Many Gen Zers grew up watching their parents take huge financial hits during the Great Recession. Having witnessed their parents' struggles, this generation is driven by pragmatism and security. They don't want to struggle for money. They don't want to experience any form of lack. Good as that may be, it also has its adverse effects because they may lack adversity intelligence. If they are not well guided, they might not be able to manage situations where they don't have enough. They might just give up. They might just become, because of that, they might just become mentally challenged. Let's move on. I hope I'm able to finish this. Okay, so what are some of their peculiar challenges? They have mental health challenges. You know, they could be lonely. They are referred to by some as the loneliest generation. They spend endless hours on the net. They look at other people on Instagram, and sometimes it's even fake life. They look at so many things and then they begin to compare, oh, this person is this, and look at the way I am. And they don't understand that those things, sometimes what they see online might not be reality. They spend more time on smartphones, watching Netflix. No, they spend very less time with friends and family physically. You know, somebody once said that the internet makes you feel closer to people who are far away and takes you away from people who are close by you. That's another challenge that they have. So many of them fall into the prey of comparison and despair, and then that could lead to depression. Okay, so looking at all of these challenges that Gen Zers have, isn't it going to be worth it for us to put in a lot of effort in, you know, learning about them and strategically looking out for ways in which we can give them a rich educational experience, regardless of what their challenges are and regardless of what their peculiarities are? Okay, so putting into consideration the peculiar features of Gen Z and other unique needs that various learners may have, it is important that lessons and school activities are carefully planned to cater for and also to challenge and support. Don't forget, the key word there is to support every child to have a rich experience towards achieving set objectives. Now, this brings us, I wonder if we'll be able to do differentiation today, but I'll just touch on it. Probably in our Telegram discussion, we will go more into differentiation because we have just 5 minutes. So let's just look at an introduction to differentiation, and I could just stop because of time. Differentiated instruction is the process of tailoring lessons to meet each student's individual interest. Without differentiation, there cannot be inclusion. Now, inclusion means carrying everybody along. Differentiation means tailoring our lessons to cater for every individual need so that everyone can be carried along. It is responsive teaching. That's according to Tomlinson, 2005, rather than one size fits all. One size does not fit all anymore. If we want our children to have all our children to be carried along. Differentiated instruction is both a philosophy and a way of teaching that respects the different learning needs of students and expects all students to experience success as learners. So differentiation is something every teacher must practice, and it comes in various ways. There are various ways we can differentiate. We can differentiate by outcome. We can differentiate by instruction. Now, a lot of teachers normally think that differentiation means giving every child different tasks to do. No, differentiation simply means that supporting every child, supporting them such that they are challenged to do more and to achieve. Before I round off, let me just show you this. Now, everybody look at this picture. Let's just close with this. Let me round off with this. Quickly look at this picture. It says supporting every learner uniquely to achieve set goals. So you can see the first one, equality. That is one size fits all. When you want to use the same methods, the same approach to teach every child, every different child. And then look at the second picture that talks about equity, where you support the children according to their various needs. So Gary, I think this is 2 minutes to the closing time. I don't know if I still have more time, but let me just hand over to you right now. I believe we could have the opportunity to continue on the Telegram platform. Thank you, Gary.
Hi, yeah, so yes, we do have that option to continue on the Telegram group, and that's exactly what I've been saying in the session. So sorry, in the chat. So thank you very much for a fascinating presentation, and lots to think about there, and lots of ideas that we can carry on talking about. So, you know, as I say, part of the process that we engage in here is to, you know, open up a line of discussion, open up ideas, present ideas, and then talk about them. So we don't have time to deal with any questions just at the moment, but if you want to, I put on a couple of times the link to the Telegram discussion group. Sarah will join us next week. You can start asking questions from now if you want. So Steve has been ably putting the information onto the Telegram group anyway. So there's a nice summary of the ideas there. There will be a recording of this session, plus the slides will go up with a recording, and information about that will be emailed to you into the email that you use to sign up for the webinar. So thank you very much, Sarah, for a fascinating introduction into a big area, and let's hope we can continue the discussion in the next week. I mean, I guess we might stop for Christmas, but then we can always come back to it after Christmas. But maybe you're bored over Christmas and you want to carry on the discussion. So thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for your presentation.